guys, welcome to the Men of Iron podcast. This is Garret Barbush here. Hey, I wanted to share a recent experience I had, a recent conversation that I had, and really I was encouraged by it. I was challenged by it, and I thought, man, this is a great thing to share with our podcast community. I was just out in Phoenix and Scottsdale, Arizona for a couple days. I was out there for some meetings, and I circled up with my buddies there from Harbor Ministries, Tim Bulkey. And Tim was sharing a story with us about how basically, I believe it was his great-grandfather that had really paved the way for his family to eventually settle in the Lincoln, Nebraska area. And he told a story about how out in the Nebraska area there's, this was really a very famous pathway, right? That was part of the Oregon Trail. It was how people kind of migrated out west, and if you are my age, you know all about the game, the Oregon Trail, and all the crazy things that could happen to you on that game. And we know, because of history, a lot of the hardships that people faced on the Oregon Trail. We know that it wasn't an easy journey, right? And so Tim was sharing this story about how, there's lessons to be learned, because on the Oregon Trail, right, you could actually see these ruts from the wagon wheels, right? And the safe thing to do as you were traveling on that trail was to stay in those ruts, right? And to stay the course and to keep venturing out west. But there were those pioneers, if you will, that veered off course. And the hard thing to do was to get off of that trail, to get out of those ruts and to maybe establish a new territory that had not been established before. And that was what he was telling of his great-grandfather. That's exactly what his great-grandfather had done. He had kind of veered off this trail, headed north a little bit, found a plot of land, and had really started and established a community there. And now Tim and his family live in that same area years and years later. There was a lot of farming in the background and in that story and everything else. However, Tim was sharing a story about how at one of the trailheads outside of Lincoln, there's a sign, and it talks about the Oregon Trail and how basically a quote on this plaque at the trailhead that talks about what these people encountered. And the quote says this, that cowards never started, the weak died along the way, and the strong survived and paved the way. Let me read that again. Cowards never started, the weak died along the way, and the strong survived and paved the way. And I heard that, and we talked about that for a little while, because there's not necessarily a wrong or a right way to pursue life as men, right? Like there is good in staying the course, right? There is positive and there's benefit in staying the course and staying in that rut where, if God's called you to stay safe and to stay on the trail where you know what to expect, then you need to do that. There's a time and a place as men where we need to stay the course. Too many of us at times, we wander off too easily, right? We wander off track and we get distracted by opportunities. We get distracted by maybe something that the world's offering us. But the bottom line is God saying, no, I want you to stay on the trail. I want you to keep your wheels in those ruts. Like, this is where you need to be. And I think for all of us to think through and evaluate really like, hey, is that what God's calling me to do right now? Or is he calling me to get off the path? Right? Because then there's those of us that God's been calling us to take that risk, right? To get scrappy like we talked about last time, and to get off the trail and to pursue something new that he has for us, and yet we're too scared to do it. We're not willing to get uncomfortable, right? But it says here that the strong survived and paved the way. And the bottom line is that someone, if God's calling you to veer off the path and to create a new pathway, right? And maybe he's got a new assignment before you. The bottom line is, if you don't take that chance, then his kingdom can't grow, because he's trusting you to do that for his glory. And this is my encouragement today with this podcast, is simply for all of us to evaluate, am I in a rut that God wants me to be in, or am I in a rut that God's been trying to call me out of, right? I want you to think about that. And maybe you're there and you're that personality and you're that characteristic, you're that person, that man that continues to veer off the path, I need you to think about this. Like, are you veering off way too often? Do you need to be that guy that's maybe staying on course, staying on that trail, keeping your wagon wheels in the ruts that have gone before you? Because, guys, cowards never started. The weak died along the way, and the strong survived and paved the way. Man, I want to encourage all of us to determine who God is calling us to be as men. Are you to pave the way, or are you to stay the course? We'll talk to you guys next time.